Hi friends, Travis here, and this is my sister Maggie. You remember her, obviously from the cruise that we just went on and everything, and several other things that we've done for the last 30 plus years. But anyway, so we were recently on the MSC Divina only a few weeks ago, and now we're back and we want to talk about that for, a little bit. So yeah, let's go ahead and roll right into it. If you guys have seen any of these videos on my channel before, you know that I like to start with the dislikes and end with the likes so we can kind of like close things out on a more positive note. But yeah.
So the first dislike that we came up with was, especially for me, it being my first cruise, was there was a little bit of a setback with sail away, and as a result of that, we didn't have the big sail away party, which I had been told about. So when it started to happen, but then they got word that things were kind of not sailing away, and then everybody just disappeared and there was no sail away party, and that was very sad for me.
Yeah, so normally what they do is they'll, on the first day before you leave port, they'll have a, deck party at the top, and they'll play a bunch of music and whatever, and then normally while that's happening, the ship will leave port, and you can, wave people off. You'll even have sometimes people waiting on the shore and stuff like that. We didn't get that experience. I don't know exactly what the delay was. I've been told a couple of things. From what I understand, it had to do with delayed flights. There were several delayed flights, so the captain decided to wait for people that were trying to get to the ship. But then I also heard there was a maintenance delay, so who knows what exactly caused it, but we ended up leaving a couple hours late, and then sail away never happened, and it was sad.
Yes.
All right, so our next dislike, it has to do with the food, and this is not uncommon of a criticism to have for MSC. I think it was more of a variety issue. The buffet food was great, and I'll have Maggie tell a little bit more about that in a second. She didn't actually, because she preferred the buffet to the dining room. It's not that it had a bad selection, it's just, what did you say?
It was repetitive. If you're somebody when everybody dines differently, but when I go to a buffet, I'm one that I'm going to try a little bit of everything. So when you're on the cruise, by second or third day, now you've tried a little bit of everything 3-4 times, twice a day. So
yeah, so it's not that there was a lack of variety, but what she was saying is that maybe make there less options each day so that you can spread the options out throughout the week or whatever.
Right.
So that it's not the same buffet every single time you go.
So the third dislike I would have to say is just the lack of personal service, as far as with the bar, especially at Ocean Key. The entire time we were there, nobody ever approached us for us to order a drink. We had to physically walk, and it was quite a ways from where we had found a place to sit to where the bar was. And that was an issue everywhere we went. And then being at the bars, just feeling like we were completely invisible. Everybody else would get helped.
Yeah, and so I have a couple of thoughts on that. Number one, that happened literally the first bar we went to. We stood there for the longest time, and they couldn't even see us. It was really weird. People were coming up after us and getting service and leaving. So I don't know if it was just where we were standing or how we were presenting ourselves or what. But I've been on MSC before, and I was on the Divina actually fairly recently, and I did not experience that last time I was there. The one thing I will say is this ship was very near capacity. We had over 3,000 people on board, so the ratio of staff members to guests was not what I'm used to, and that's one of the ways that we really did notice that is it was very hard to get service. You had to almost go demand it in a sense. So yeah. All right, so enough of that negative stuff. Let's go ahead and move on into the stuff that we actually did enjoy, which was a lot more than the stuff that we didn't. We actually had a really hard time coming up with that negativity list. So if you thought it was nitpicky, that's because it was. We had to be in order to make this video happen, but that's a good thing, right? So, but yeah, so our first or at least from my perspective, was I thought that the people on board were a good vibe. When we were up in the nightclub at night, it was really hopping and popping, but no one was rude. Everybody was friendly. Out at the pool, you know, like people would like laugh and make jokes with us. I don't know if we really made any friends with anyone, but we definitely didn't feel out of place or unwelcome at all.
No, I'd say as far as friends, there was that couple that was there with their parents.
Oh, yeah. That recognized me from YouTube. That's
yeah.
right. Yeah, that was Jesse and
So
Jay.
we kind of ran into them several times.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
You know,
so yeah, the people on board were a good vibe.
absolutely were. One thing that was a plus for me was the variety of entertainment. There was literally things to do for all kinds of demographics and all kinds of likes and dislikes, and all happening kind of at the same time. So that way, like, say, you know, you wanted to go to karaoke, you had that option. But if you weren't into karaoke, you didn't have to wait until like 2 hours later for there to be something for you to do.
Yeah, you could be down in the lobby listening to music. You could be doing trivia. You know, all those things. And they did do a good job of keeping the entertainment schedule really full, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, and so for our last like that we've come up with for this is the last time I was on the Divina, I actually didn't even go into the adult-only area, and we discovered that this time around, and I'm glad we did. We spent the majority of our, pool deck out in the sun time up there, and it was nice because, especially since this cruise was so crowded and lots of kids are back sailing and stuff, which is great, it was nice to have a place that for adults to be able to go and get away from the little ones. And that back pool and bar and everything was set up so nicely, and we never had a hard time finding a seat there, and got lots of swim hours in back there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was definitely a highlight for me. It was kind of like a vacation for me away from my children. So the fact that they had that area that there was no kids, I was definitely digging that. I was digging the being a person other than a mom at that point. You know, I was an adult and I didn't have to deal with any kids, and that was great. Don't get me wrong, I love my children, but Mama needed a break.
As a matter of fact, if you haven't seen the last vlog in this series, which came out a couple days ago, I'll put that in a card above or description below. She got kind of emotional when the kids came out on stage. The little thing at the end.
I absolutely did. I think that was the first time in the cruise that, and maybe just because it was the last night and, I knew I was going home the next day, but that was the first time in the cruise that I was like, oh, my children, look how cute they are up there with their little song and dance they're doing.
Yeah, it was cute.
And so I got quite emotional when those kids came out up on that stage.
But yeah, so it was nice to get away from the kids, but also nice to be reminded that kids exist. And
yes.
Yeah.
So for final thoughts for me, I think that I actually have two things to bring. First of all, it was my very first cruise. So as a first-time cruiser, I think I've mentioned this in a video before. I don't know what I necessarily expected, but it far exceeded anything that my pea brain could possibly have thought a cruise was all about. I don't know if it's the misconception that it's, for old people or whatever. In my head, I just kind of thought that like this, I'm going to go, but I don't know if that's going to be something that I'm going to really enjoy because, I'm not 80 or, retired at some point or, I don't know, an uppity middle-aged housewife. I don't know.
Yeah.
Although I guess technically I kind of am.
Yeah, you're getting there. But yeah, so she was expecting, I don't know, the vibe to be a little bit kind of stuffier.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's not how it was at all. She had a really good time.
No, I absolutely enjoyed it. So the second point for me is the fact that I'm pregnant, and I was very concerned that I wasn't going to that I wasn't going to have a good time because I was going to be so restricted and that there wouldn't be a whole lot of things that I would be able to do. That was not the case at all. I never felt like I was held back or lacking in any sort of anything. There were virgin options as far as drinks, and they never made me feel like, oh, this girl not wanting to drink, I never felt like it was an issue at all. People were very welcoming. It was not an issue. Like, nobody even made, other than the mustard drill, nobody ever, there was like no accommodations, like special accommodations. I was just like every one of the cruisers. And that was a concern for me, was that I didn't want to be feel like I was left out, or feel like
singled out.
Exactly. Yeah. And I wasn't. It was amazing. Mom's cruises are a great baby moon. Just letting you know. Everything's done for you. You don't have to cook. You don't have to clean. Nothing. Great baby moon vacation.
And then final thoughts for me, just because, I have some opinions also, I guess. I come from the sort of opposite end of that spectrum, is that I've been on multiple cruises before, and I've been on this exact cruise ship before, and experienced this exact itinerary on this exact cruise ship before. So I'll say that this was a lot of fun. I think I was kind of worried that my sister wouldn't have as good a time either, because she was pregnant and all that stuff, and she was originally scheduled at an earlier cruise and didn't work out and whatever, and that might actually have been a good thing, because she was in much worse shape back then, with morning sickness and all that craziness. So it worked out in the end, and we had a really good time. And I'd say this is definitely top 3 or 4 cruises for me overall, and I'm looking forward to our next one together, which will be in February, if everything goes the way that it's supposed to go. So
no baby bump this time.
Yeah, she'll be able to drink and
I'll
do all
experience it from a new perspective.
I was gonna say she'll be able to drink and do all the crazy partying, but you did all the crazy partying on this one. Like, we were up in the nightclub like every single night.
I was.
And she was just hanging in there like right along with me. So, but anyway, that's it. It was a great cruise. Another one in the books. First one for you, and but not the last.
Not
So I want to thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those fun things. We'll talk soon, and you all have a good night.
Bye.